I'd like to acknowledge and introduce our guest speaker today. I'm not going to do a long, formal introduction because actually, she doesn't need one. Instead, I'm going to introduce her from a personal level out of my own personal experience. If you've ever taken one of her classes, you know that she is well prepared. She is extremely knowledgeable and just an amazing teacher to us. If you've ever worked with her on a project, you know she is a taskmaster. What I know is she is a powerful prayer warrior amen. And she holds only the highest good for our spiritual community, for our leadership, and for each of us, always. I know personally all of these things to be true because, y'all, she's my prayer partner. She walks with me on my spiritual journey, and she stands in the gap for me whenever I need her. So I want you to join me in giving an enthusiastic, loving, warm, supportive welcome to our beloved Chief Operating Officer, lay leader, and licensed Unity teacher, Reverend Sheryl McCullough. And I know that her message will bless and inspire us today, no doubt, no doubt.
Yes. You all look wonderful amidst all of this. Yeah. But it's a good thing. No hole. Aren't we looking good? Yes. Things are coming together. Thank you, Richard. That was wonderful. I was just wanting to kind of flow with that. Thank you. Great morning, Unity family. Thank you. And I love it when Reverend Amon, when he says, hello, family, I'm like, yes, doesn't it just, there's just something about your voice, wonderful one. Thank you. This past week has really seen its challenges. You know, we're looking at our world, and I just feel I can't move forth in what I'm talking about until I just know that we have come together in prayer for all of the things that have happened. And there certainly are some things that touch me and probably have touched your soul as well. Prayers for those families that made their transition in the tragic helicopter accident involving Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and the other beloved souls that were with them. Those who have lost their lives to that coronavirus and the issues that it has caused with individuals trying to just safely travel back home. And of course, we really need to hold in prayer our political system. We have to hope for discernment. And I don't care where you stand, prayer is needed for our government and our leadership. So I can say life moves on, but I had some good news this morning. You know that little groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil? What is it? the prognosticator of all prognosticators, he came out of that hole at Gobbler's Knob this morning just before 7:30 a.m. And guess what? He did not see his shadow, which is a rare event. And for me, that's good news, because it means we will have an early spring. And I love that. I'm a warm weather girl. I was born in the state of Florida. Spent most of my life in California, so I love warm weather. And the weather prediction for tomorrow in the DMV is about 65 degrees. Woo! So thank you to that little groundhog. You know, a poet once said that the best love story is the one you have with yourself. And I just, you know, spirit just works. Rev Bev coming up, her class next week, what's love got to do with it? Reverend Amon talking about the love that we experience for God. Because I was going, you know, when you start talking about love, people like, oh gosh, that kind of touchy-feely stuff. But it's the real deal. And I'm going to discuss that L word today. And as Betty said, because she was the worship leader, I'm the speaker, and I have the mic. So that's what we're going to discuss today. But seriously, the majority of texts in any language, period of time, region, and combinations have been written about love, and they still don't seem to cover every aspect of this incredible feeling. It has been described as an emotion, a way of life, and for many of us, we see it as the nature of God. Right, Reverend Amon? The nature of God. Love has been considered one of the most important things there is in this world. In fact, studies have shown that when love is withheld or blocked from human children, they die emotionally, and many have died physically. And by the time we reach adulthood, we have become incredibly confused about what love is and what we need to do to deserve it. However, to rediscover love and the happiness that comes with it, we have to drop our defenses, be much less conditional about who deserves love and who doesn't, and most crucially of all, we need to learn to love ourselves. We cannot love other people and truly love this precious gift of life if we have forgotten how to love ourselves. Again, the best love story is the one you have with yourself. Now, we toss around the word love and use it real casually. I love German chocolate cake. I love to dance. I love German chocolate cake. I love to travel. I love German chocolate cake. You get me? So using love so casually can minimize its value and sincerity as we are focusing outward and not inward. Stephanie Dowrick, author of Choosing Happiness, and many of you may remember that book that we used. We went through it, and people are shaking their heads for like 18 months. But Stephanie said, there is no expression of love that we are more afraid of than self-love. Yet, without loving our own life, without feeling joy and gratitude for our own existence, without knowing how to accept everything that we are, without knowing how to treat ourselves tenderly with good humor and encouragement, we starve ourselves the energy needed to love and accept other people. Zen teacher and author Thich Nhat Hanh says, your capacity for loving another person depends entirely on your capacity for loving yourself, for taking care of yourself. And I get it. If we don't love ourselves, we will continue to go on asking others to compensate us for what we are not prepared to do for ourselves. And when we don't find love, we are seeking it. It may drive us to substitutions such as overwork, abusive relationships, personal and global violence. We see that every day. Some are even driven to addictions and other things that disrupt their lives. We know something is missing, but as the song says, we're looking for love in all the wrong places. Now, loving self should not be confused with narcissism. Narcissism is the opposite of self-love. Narcissists have no energy for anyone but themselves. They are preoccupied by their own internal reality, not freed by it. They do things that make themselves appear more important than others, disregard others' feelings, require constant admiration and adoration, and the list goes on. But we bless all of that, because many times that can be and touch a little on a part of us when we're not loving ourselves. You know what I mean? Think of those times that you've done that. These actions are not self-love. But I digress. As I mentioned before, we've embraced the concept that God is love. Loving your neighbor as yourself is a favorite Bible verse about love. As recorded in Matthew 22:34-40, our elder brother and Ray Shore Jesus was teaching and responding to questions about the law and the prophets, which led to some debate with the Sadducees and Pharisees. And that's us. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question: "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, and my Bible scholars know this: "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." So it seems, second only to loving God, loving your neighbor as yourself is the central point of all biblical laws. We love God first, then our neighbors as ourselves. However, let's explore this scripture a bit further, specifically to love thy neighbor as ourselves. Jesus is not necessarily commanding self-love. That appears to be a given. In short, he makes the love of yourself the model of how you love your neighbor. Further, self-love in Jesus' command does not mean just self-esteem. I believe it means to make the desires that you have for your own comfort, security, success, and happiness the measure of how intensely and consistently you desire and pursue these things for others. We all do hundreds of things to love ourselves throughout the day that we may not even be conscious of. I know I do. I feed myself. I clothe myself. Give myself rest. Look both ways before I cross the street. And the list goes on. And although I need to remind myself at times, I love Sheryl. And I believe you love you. Now, before you judge this as self-centeredness, hear me out. I am not saying that I am the supreme ruler and the world revolves around me. I am saying I love and care about myself. The root of a lot of issues within people's lives is that they don't care enough about themselves. They are easily manipulated, taken advantage of, or simply don't see their worth. Self-love is seeking that you deserve respect, are worthy, and are capable. You might think that self-love is something that can be obtained by getting new clothes, losing weight, reading something inspirational, or maybe even getting a makeover. And while these things may make you feel good, it really is not the way to grow in self-love. Self-love is a state of appreciation for oneself that grows from actions that support our physical, psychological, and spiritual growth. Self-love is dynamic. It grows through actions that mature us. When we act in ways that expand our self-love, we begin to accept much better our weaknesses as well as our strengths. We have less need to explain away our shortcomings. We have compassion for ourselves as spiritual beings moving through this human experience. We're more centered in our life purpose and values, and we do not have to be validated by others. Self-love makes us humble. We have no need to parade behind a facade of false pride, nor do we act as if we are perfect or exaggerate our importance. There's a lot out there about what you can do to develop your self-love. There is no quick fix. One size does not fit all. And I want to be very clear on that, because I'm going to share with you 4 things that I feel are keys to get you started. But no, it has to be something that works for you. So my challenge to you is that although you may hear what you hear today, develop that self-love the best way you know how. So I start with love yourself enough to set boundaries. Set limits or say no to work or other activities that deplete or harm you physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Now, I'm not saying tomorrow you go in, your manager tells you to do something, and you tell them where to go. Because, see, you might need that position. But I'm asking you to breathe and share with them what your feelings are or why you can or cannot perform what it is that you may be asked to do. Do not go into it with this frustration or anger. That needs to be released in order to self-love. So often we allow everyone else's needs, demands, and schedules to take priority over what we need and what we want for our lives. And we end up feeling frustrated, resentful, and exhausted. Even Jesus set boundaries for himself. When he would go apart to rejuvenate himself, he made no excuses. We have been programmed that it is a whole lot easier to love other people than it is to love ourselves. Further, that genuine love is totally giving ourselves to meet the needs of others without expecting anything in return. But often, we have a hidden desire for that love to be reciprocated because we serve to receive in return. But love doesn't expect anything in return. Your giving is the return. Love is an action, not just the state of feeling good. And when you love yourself, you realize that. And also remember, no is a complete sentence. It really does not warrant an explanation. Offering an explanation, amen. Offering an explanation, excuse me, is a courtesy to the other person. In fact, let's begin to practice it now. So look at the person next to you and say this: today I choose me. All right. And that might be no to you. Next tip, live with purpose and intention. Your purpose does not have to be crystal clear. Visualizing your goals is a good way to feel motivated and excited about your future. You can focus on your dreams and start to love your life and yourself. Last Sunday, the church hosted a vision board workshop, and I dropped in. It was well attended. It was facilitated by our beloved DJ Lloyd. Thank you so much, DJ. This is a great way that you can strengthen who you already are by making an assessment of what you have to offer and what you may need to do to improve and accomplish your goals. In the words of Maya Angelou, we do the best we can with what we know, and when we know better, we do better. But you gotta work it through. So take time to tighten up your intention and your vision for life. We are planning another vision board session sometime in the summer, so keep an eye out for it. Next, trust yourself. Yes, and we heard about that last week from wonderful Catherine McQuay Lewis. Trust yourself and your own instincts. Go within and dialogue with your higher self. The things you hear in your head have been there your whole life. You probably have not paid attention to it before, but you must be conscious of what you're saying. We sang that. Our thoughts are prayers. This means that negative things you say to yourself have to be eliminated. Next time you catch yourself saying something negative, pause and say, cancel, cancel. I'm sure you heard that before, but it actually sends a message to your subconscious to ignore what you just thought. After canceling, say something new and positive to yourself. And sometimes you have to repeat this over and over. And lastly, and this is big for me, forgive yourself. We can be so hard on ourselves. The downside of trusting and taking responsibility for our actions is punishing ourselves for mistakes in learning and growing. Celebrate your accomplishments and give yourself credit where credit is due. Remember, there are no failures, only lessons learned. You need to make the decision that from now on you will never be less than loving and forgiving to yourself. No more putting yourself down, ever. No more torment over past events that you can't change. No more putting up with other people's abuse or unkindness. No more negative self-talk. It is impossible to see the world as a loving place until the world that resides in your mind is loving and forgiving. When old thoughts and behaviors come up, see them for what they are: tired, useless habits that have no business in your space. Now, you should have received a little forgiveness prayer card in your bulletins. Now, this is just one tool because I'm a teacher, so I'm going to give you something to work with. I could recommend that you use this on a daily basis and say it more than once if necessary. Carry it on your person, because sometimes you got to take this out. It is a powerful prayer covering all areas of forgiving, and it's on one side. And let's just read this together. All that has offended me, I forgive. Within and without, I forgive. Things past, things present, things future, I forgive. I forgive everything and everybody who possibly needs forgiveness of the past or present. I forgive possibly everyone. I am free and they are free too. All things are cleared up between us now and forever. Powerful. Thank you to Catherine Ponder for that. And what I have shared with you is nothing new. I am just sharing what you already know. But as the saying goes, repetition is the mother of all skill, and action is its father. So we need to hear it over and over until it becomes second nature, and definitely act upon it. Now, on the other side of this forgiveness prayer is the I love myself so much, because that's what we're talking about, that self-love. And it says very quickly, I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. So the end is near, and I leave you with a quote from author and speaker Panache Desai. And what I like about him is he makes it a habit to close his workshops and his writings on a note of love. And this is what he says. Just for today, focus on the way you love yourself. This is not a selfish thing to do. On the contrary, it is the greatest gift you can offer to everyone in your life. The more you are filled with love, the more you can be available to everyone around you in a spacious, gracious way. Just for today, know that you deserve your own love. And I'll end as I began. I want to remind you of the biblical basis, again, for self-love. First, love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And I will add, because your neighbor is yourself. The best love story is the one you have with yourself. Choose to love yourself today. Peace be with you.